Hello and welcome. You're watching the Times of India. I'm Nalin Mehta. Yet another day, yet another stricture against the BCCI from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court today, in its latest stricture on the BCCI, has appointed an independent auditor to scrutinize all its accounts, and it's curbed all its financial transactions with all the state cricket bodies across India. To decipher what this latest ruling of the court means, what it means for Indian cricket, and we are in the middle of another cricket series at the moment. Sanjeev Singh of the Times of India has been tracking this very closely. Sanjeev, we've been seeing this saga going on now for over a year with the Lodha committee, and this pretty much seems like the last stand of the cozy club that is the BCCI. They are digging in their heels, and the court seems to be losing its patience.
Yes, in fact, what has perhaps frustrated the courts is the fact that, they've already passed the order that, these recommendations need to be implemented.
Yeah.
But still the BCCI is somehow trying to, that's the feeling that the court gets, that the BCCI is trying to thwart any such, reforms from taking place. And that's why we see these sort of strictures being passed. But,
so may I ask you, Sanjeev, for the benefit of our viewers, what exactly has the court ruled today, and then we'll start dissecting it.
Basically, in the previous hearings, the court had said that, why are you giving money to state cricket associations, and what is the need to when they're not implementing the Lodha committee recommendations. So that was basically the standoff from where it took off. And then the BCCI went ahead and said that, if you actually put any curbs on our financial dealings, then this the New Zealand is here, they're touring India. Then we'll have to call off the series. So then the court clarified that no such thing needs to be done. We're only asking you, why are you giving money when at this juncture, when the states don't seem to be in sync with you or not following orders that you've asked.
Just to clarify, what is being stopped is not the operational stuff, like the series will not be affected, but the big ticket money. And also to point out that the BCCI just in September, on 21st of September, had made a payment of almost 400 crores to its various state bodies, which was in defiance of Supreme Court orders. So in that sense, the court has absolutely clamped down on this. The other thing, of course, is that they've also appointed an independent auditor.
So now, basically what the court is saying that, okay, you don't want to, if you're not going to play ball, then, we'll take matters in our hand. And this is just a sort of an indication of things to expect when the court meets next in December. Why this is important is because...
sorry, I just want to interrupt, Sanjeev. Sorry. Also, I think what has also been ordered, of course, is that Anurag Thakur, or actually Lieutenant Anurag Thakur, because he's now joined the Royal Army, the head of the BCCI, and Ajay Shirke, another office bearer of the BCCI, they've been asked to appear in person before the Supreme Court in 2 weeks' time to give a compliance report of the reforms in the BCCI. Because the BCCI, remember, has gone to court and said that we can't really comply with the Lodha committee's reforms, or we can't comply with all of them, and the court is not very happy about it.
I remember, I think you had written a piece on it also, giving an example of the fact that, why this is a dangerous precedent.
The thing about that is the BCCI in court, through its lawyer Kapil Sibal, has essentially made a primary argument saying that we cannot implement a large part of the Lodha committee's reforms. We can implement only some of them. The others we cannot implement because the argument is that our stakeholders, which is our constituent bodies, which is the state associations, they are not very happy about it. Now, the problem with that kind of argument is that imagine if you are a corporate company, a large corporate accused of doing wrongdoing, or a state government for that matter, say in the matter of reservations, and the court issues an order, and you go back to the court and say, sorry, we can't implement this because our stakeholders are unhappy with this order. Will we accept that kind of argument? Won't that be contempt of court? That essentially is what the BCCI is arguing in principle in court. Now, of course, there is an argument to be made that the court overstepping its bounds? Is this out of its jurisdiction in terms of reforming the BCCI? Which is what Justice Karju, the former Supreme Court judge who was hired by the BCCI to legally look at the Lodha committee's reforms. They filed a review petition in the Supreme Court saying that that the Lodha committee is overstepping its bounds. It's brief. It's trying to take over cricket, in its words. the Supreme Court yesterday has thrown that review petition out of the court, saying we don't accept it. Whether you like it or not, what the court is saying now is the law of the land. So you can't go back and say, sorry, we're not happy about it.
So what the BCCI had done is that they had taken refuge under the Tamil Nadu Societies Registration Act of 1975.
Yeah.
Where they said only the registrar.
Because they are registered under that body.
Yeah. So then, despite the Supreme Court saying that you can't take any decisions till you actually implement these reforms, an AGM was called by the BCCI in which they not only advertised for the application of post of selectors, the agenda also included formation of a new working committee. So all this was in defiance of the court, which is why this has come.
Sajeev, may I add here? Sorry, I'm looking at comments that we are getting as we are talking. Vaman Jani says the BCCI must consist of cricketers of repute and not of politicians. This being the only cricketing body. All these otherwise are a group of vested interests. May I add here that the BCCI, actually on a serious note, not just on a lighter note, Kapil Sibal in court has argued that the BCCI is led by a cricketer, Anurag Thakur. And he's a serious. In fact, when the court said, but he's only played one game, Mr. Sibal said, don't make fun. You don't make fun. He's a serious cricketer. To which the Chief Justice said, well, I am also the captain of the Supreme Court cricketers team.
Because when the Chief Justice asked about what about the qualification of the office bearers, that time Mr. Sibal said that he's a serious cricketer. Then the Chief Justice said that well, I am the captain of the Supreme Court judges team. The fact is that Anurag Thakur played only one Ranji Trophy match, and that was against Jammu and Kashmir. He did not make any runs, but he got 2 wickets. And when that happened, he was not only the chairman of the Himachal Pradesh cricket. Without any meeting being called, he himself became a part of the.
It was one of the reasons why the strictures have been. The court has basically argued that the BCCI has taken a couple of decisions in the last month or so, which they find are in contravention of the Lodha Committee reforms. They have said they have requested the court to look at the reform, which is saying that it should be each state association should only have one vote per state. Now that creates a problem for states like Maharashtra, where you have Vidarbha, you have Cricket Club of India, you have Maharashtra, and that creates a problem. Now that it will automatically reduce these. So the BCCI made an argument. How can you equate Maharashtra with say Nagaland, which doesn't have a cricketing culture?
Exactly. So I mean, there the BCCI, to be fair to them, they have a point. I mean, there are some states which have traditionally been strong in cricket, but the fact that the reforms talk about having an age gap, one man, one post, one state, one vote. These are things that which the BCCI needs to work on. But more importantly, what today's decision will impact is the fact that you have the rights of the IPL coming up.
Right.
So
that's a very important one.
So what happened is that right now, the media rights of IPL are actually owned by Sony Pictures Network Private Limited. And they were sold for 1.6 billion US dollars. How much is that in?
That's about 160,000 crores.
160 crores.
Sorry, 160 crores. I was always bad in mathematics.
Dollars.
160
crore dollars. I wish I could have some sort of. Anyway, so
160 crore dollars. Sorry, in rupees. USD. That is what the IPL rights were. Now they're up for tendering, and there are various companies that are in the fray. Companies like Star, like Twitter, like Facebook, Reliance Jio.
All of them are there.
This is a very big deal in the sense that
because now the deal will have all three. It's going to have TV, internet, and mobile. And according to reports, this time what the BCCI is hoping to achieve is a deal worth at least $4.5 billion.
Okay, so that's about 4 times this. So 4.5 billion. $4.5 billion. If this goes through, this will be the biggest deal of its type in the world of cricket.
Exactly. So that is why it is important. But along with that,
So what the court is basically saying, and just to put this in perspective, if the court is going to appoint its own financial auditor, this auditor is going to sit in on these bids and supervise them, which takes away the kind of autonomy and the kind of dealings the BCCI has done in the past. Because now there's an independent guy appointed by the Supreme Court, whoever that person will be or whoever that entity will be, looking in at this very big money transaction. And the bidding for it.
And then, God forbid, if they go into previous, issues of where money was given to whom and how. then that could actually, it could lead to many skeletons tumbling out.
Because
of
remember the
power.
Sony deal to begin with originally. There are lots of question marks about it when it was first given. That was at the time when Lalit Modi was still the commissioner of the IPL.
Yes.
And there is an ED case also going on that case even now.
So when the BCCI president was asked, what is your take on this? He said, we haven't received a copy of the order yet, and we are trying to convince states to come on board. The BCCI judgment is expected to be uploaded by 5 p.m.
Like Supreme Court judgments are uploaded at 5 p.m., which is when they'll start looking at it. I think. Sorry, go on, Sanjeev.
But Nalin, I mean, one of the last points that one would like to make. All this is fine. What the Supreme Court is asking BCCI to do to implement reforms is fine. But you have a tour going on.
Yeah.
You have so much of money at stake.
Yeah.
Do we? I mean, there must be a benchmark or a thin line that BCCI or the Supreme Court needs to follow. What could that be?
So the point is that we can argue for or against the reforms which the BCCI, which the court is asking for through the Lodha committee. But the bottom line is that the BCCI, at the end of the day, for all its faults, remains the best functioning sports body in India. In fact, we are getting comments here, Sanjeev, from Niranjan Singh saying, "Don't spoil the best working sports body in India." In terms of the sports that India does well in. Now the point is, there is an IPL auction which is going to happen. There is a cricket series happening now.
Yeah. We're going to play 10 test matches.
Exactly. The England tour is coming up. There's another tour happening.
One test match against Bangladesh, then the Australians come.
Yeah, exactly. So what the point is, the worst thing that can happen for any enterprise is uncertainty. Right now, Indian cricket or the management of it is stuck in a big twilight zone because we have the Lodha committee's recommendations, we have the BCCI's opposition to some of them, we have the court taking a hard line on each of these, and we don't quite know which side the penny will drop. So what is needed is clarity, which is important for players, it's important for financiers and sponsors, it's important for state associations, it's important for the running of cricket in this country. So whatever the court decides, it must decide it fast and decide once and for all the future of BCCI, which after all is the richest cricketing body in the world.
Yeah, so that's a very important point, that the Supreme Court is very right in telling the BCCI to do all this and giving all these harsh strictures. But the bottom line is that the game should not suffer, and this whole, clouds of uncertainty need to be drifted away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the moment, this will at least go on till the 3rd of December, which is the next, which is the deadline currently by the court to implement the Lodha committee reforms. Yeah. The court has asked for an affidavit in 2 weeks' time from the BCCI and for Mr. Thakur, Lieutenant Thakur, to appear in person before the Supreme Court. So this will go on at least for a month, if not longer. But it's in the interest of cricket for a line to be drawn under this and a decision to be taken once and for all.
Exactly.
And on that note, we'll take a break. Keep watching the Times of India for live updates.